June 18th, 1815, 7 o'clock in the evening. The Battle of Waterloo had ended. 70,000 men lay dead or wounded in the Belgian mud. Napoleon Bonaparte, Emperor of France, master of Europe, had been defeated. The Duke of Wellington stood victorious on the ridge of Mont Saint-Jean. But in London, 200 miles away, nobody knew this yet. The official courier would not arrive for another 24 hours. The government would not make an announcement until June 20th. The newspapers would not print the story until June 21st. For 48 hours, the outcome of the most important battle in a generation would remain unknown to the British public, except to one man. Nathan Mayer Rothschild, standing on the floor of the London Stock Exchange at precisely 8:00 p.m. on June 18th, already knew who had won. His carrier pigeon, launched from Waterloo at the moment of Napoleon's final retreat, had arrived at his office 1 hour earlier. And in the next 24 hours, using that single piece of information, Nathan Rothschild would execute the most profitable trade in financial history. He would make £20 million sterling. In today's currency, adjusted for inflation and economic growth, that is approximately $20 billion from one day of trading, based on information nobody else possessed. This is not a story about a battle. This is a story about the birth of modern finance, about the moment when information became the ultimate weapon, about how one family understood that controlling the flow of knowledge was more valuable than controlling armies or territory. This is the story of how the Rothschilds became the most powerful banking dynasty in history. And it started not with money, but with pigeons. To understand what happened at Waterloo, you must first understand who Nathan Rothschild was and how he became the man standing at the center of European finance in 1815. The Rothschild family began in the Frankfurt ghetto. Mayer Amschel Rothschild was born in 1744 into a world where Jews were forbidden to own land, excluded from most professions, and confined to a single street in Frankfurt. His father was a money changer, dealing in coins and small loans. But Mayer Amschel was not content with small loans. He understood something fundamental. Money is just a tool. The real power lies in the networks that move money across borders. In the 1760s, Mayer began dealing in rare coins with Prince William of Hanau, one of the wealthiest men in Europe. This was not numismatics. This was relationship building. Within a decade, Mayer Amschel Rothschild was managing Prince William's entire fortune. Then he did something unprecedented. He sent his 5 sons to 5 different European capitals: Amschel to Frankfurt, Salomon to Vienna, Nathan to London, Karl to Naples, James to Paris. This was not emigration. This was the construction of a continent-spanning financial intelligence network. The Rothschild brothers could move money, information, and influence across Europe faster than any government, any army, any competitor. By 1810, Nathan Rothschild, based in London, had become the primary financier of the British war effort against Napoleon. When the British government needed to pay Wellington's troops in Spain, they came to Nathan. When they needed to move gold across a French naval blockade, they came to Nathan. He did not just lend money, he created the infrastructure to move it. Nathan Rothschild invented modern international finance, but money was only half the system. The other half was information. The Rothschild brothers maintained a private courier network that was faster and more reliable than any official postal system in Europe. They used encrypted messages, they employed agents in every major port and capital, and crucially, they used carrier pigeons for urgent communications. By 1815, the Rothschild intelligence network could transmit information from Paris to London in 12 hours. The official government channels took 3 days. This communication advantage was worth more than gold. Because in financial markets, information asymmetry is everything. If you know something the market does not know, you can profit from the gap between reality and perception. If you know it before anyone else, you can profit massively. And Nathan Rothschild, standing on the floor of the London Stock Exchange on June 18th, 1815, knew the outcome of Waterloo before the British government, before the Bank of England, before every other trader in the room. The question was how to exploit this knowledge without revealing that he possessed it. June 18th, 1815, the morning began with uncertainty. London knew that Wellington and Napoleon were facing each other somewhere in Belgium. The battle would decide the future of Europe. If Wellington won, Britain would dominate the continent. If Napoleon won, British government bonds would collapse and the economy would crater. British consols, government bonds that paid 3% annual interest, were the foundation of the entire financial system. Every pension fund, every insurance company, every wealthy family held consols. They were considered the safest investment in the world. But on June 18th, with the battle raging, consols were volatile. Traders were nervous. If Napoleon won, consols would crash. If Wellington won, they would soar. At 8:00 p.m., Nathan Rothschild received a message from his agent in Ostend. The message had been carried by Pigeon from Waterloo, then rushed by fast horse to the Belgian coast, then carried by Rothschild courier across the English Channel. The message was brief: Wellington victorious, Napoleon routed. Nathan Rothschild now possessed information worth millions. But he could not simply buy consoles. If he started purchasing aggressively, other traders would notice and assume he had inside information. The price would spike before he could accumulate a large position. So he did the opposite. On the morning of June 19th, Nathan Rothschild walked onto the floor of the London Stock Exchange. He took his usual position, leaning against his pillar. And then, in full view of every trader in the room, he began selling consoles. Not quietly, not discreetly, openly, aggressively. The market panicked. If Rothschild was selling, it meant he knew something. It meant Wellington had lost. It meant Napoleon was marching on London. Within an hour, every trader in the exchange was dumping consoles. The price collapsed. Rothschild sold his own holdings for about 2 hours. Then, through a network of agents and intermediaries operating across the city, he began buying. Not in his own name, not at the exchange where people were watching, but through anonymous brokers in smaller markets. He bought at 50% below the previous day's price. He bought from panicked aristocrats liquidating their holdings. He bought from insurance companies desperate to preserve capital. He bought from pension funds trying to cut losses. By the time the official news of Wellington's victory reached London on June 21st, Nathan Rothschild controlled a staggering portion of British government debt. When the market learned that Wellington had won, consoles exploded upward. They recovered all their losses and climbed higher. Rothschild's position multiplied in value. The exact profit is disputed by historians. Conservative estimates say £20 million. More aggressive calculations suggest £40 million. Either way, it was the single most profitable trade in history up to that point. But the real profit was not measured in pounds. It was measured in power. After Waterloo, Nathan Rothschild was no longer just a wealthy banker. He was the man who controlled British government debt. When the British government needed to borrow money, they came to Rothschild. When they needed to manipulate currency markets, they came to Rothschild. He had become indispensable. And this was replicated across Europe. After Waterloo, the Rothschild brothers financed the reconstruction of the continent. They lent to Austria, Prussia, France, Italy. They did not just lend money, they bought control. By 1820, it was said that there were 6 great powers in Europe: Britain, France, Austria, Prussia, Russia, and the Rothschild family. This was not hyperbole. The Rothschilds had created something entirely new, a transnational financial entity more powerful than most governments. They could move capital faster than armies could march. They could destabilize economies with a single large trade. They possessed information before kings did. They had invented financial intelligence as a strategic weapon. Now let me show you why this matters today. The Rothschild operation at Waterloo was based on 3 core principles: information asymmetry, network effects, and market psychology manipulation. Information asymmetry. Rothschild knew the outcome 24 hours before the market. This allowed him to position trades at prices that did not reflect reality. Network effects. His 5 brothers and 5 capitals created redundancy and speed that no competitor could match. Market psychology manipulation. By selling publicly while buying privately, he induced panic and profited from the emotional reaction of other traders. These 3 principles did not disappear in 1815. They are the foundation of modern high-frequency trading. In 2025, BlackRock operates a system called Aladdin. It is an algorithmic risk management platform that processes more financial data than any other system on Earth. Aladdin monitors $21 trillion in assets. It sees order flows before they hit public markets. It can predict price movements milliseconds before they occur. This is not speculation. This is documented. BlackRock's Aladdin has information asymmetry at the speed of light, just like Rothschild's Pigeons, but faster. The game has not changed, only the tools have evolved. In 1815, information traveled at the speed of a pigeon. Rothschild exploited a 24-hour gap. In 2025, information travels at the speed of fiber optic cable. High-frequency trading firms exploit microsecond gaps. The principle is identical. Whoever knows first profits. And, just like in 1815, the people with the fastest information networks are not governments. They are private financial entities. Rothschild did not win Waterloo. Wellington did. But Rothschild won the financial war. He turned a military victory into a generational transfer of wealth. From the British aristocracy, who sold their consoles in panic, to the Rothschild family, who bought them at fire sale prices. This is the hidden history of every major historical event. Behind the wars and the treaties and the political speeches, there's always a financial transaction. There is always someone who knows the outcome before everyone else, and there's always a transfer of wealth from those who panic to those who possess information. Waterloo was not unique. It was just the most visible example. The same pattern played out in the 1929 stock market crash. Insiders dumped stocks while telling the public to buy. The same pattern played out in the 2008 financial crisis. Banks sold mortgage-backed securities they knew were toxic while telling investors they were safe. Information asymmetry is the most powerful weapon in finance. Rothschild proved it in 1815. BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, and every other major financial institution practices it today. The difference is that in 1815, it was one man with a pigeon network. In 2025, it is algorithmic systems processing billions of data points per second. But the result is the same wealth flows from those who know last to those who know first. Nathan Rothschild died in 1836, one of the richest men in the world. His descendants continued the banking empire for another century. The Rothschild name became synonymous with wealth and power, but the real legacy of Waterloo was not the Rothschild fortune. It was the invention of modern financial intelligence. Before 1815, information was a byproduct of commerce. After 1815, information became a commodity itself. Banks began investing in telegraph lines, in courier networks, and anything that could deliver news faster than competitors. The arms race for information speed had begun. It continues today in the microseconds of high-frequency trading. Rothschild understood what most people still do not understand. Money is not wealth. Information is wealth. Money is just a tool used to convert information into assets. If you know what will happen before it happens, you can position yourself to profit. If you know what happened before others learn about it, you can exploit their ignorance. This is not conspiracy theory. This is market mechanics. And it is legal. Nathan Rothschild did not break any laws. There were no insider trading regulations in 1815. He simply used information he had legitimately acquired through his own intelligence network. The same is true today. High-frequency trading is legal. Algorithmic front-running is legal. Information asymmetry is the foundation of the entire financial system. Those who know, profit. Those who do not know, lose. The Battle of Waterloo ended on June 18, 1815. But the financial battle continued for days afterward, invisible to everyone except the players involved. And Nathan Rothschild won that battle more decisively than Wellington won the military one. 20 million pounds in 24 hours. From a pigeon and a plan. That is not luck. That is not genius. That is systematic exploitation of information asymmetry. And it is happening right now, every day, in every financial market on Earth. The only question is, are you the one with the pigeon, or are you the one panic selling your consoles?